Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Your Last Best Hope for Conversation, your brand new shiny Babylon 5 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jesse Jackson. Joining me today, as always, is Lou.
Hello, everyone. And I must say, Jesse, you're looking very nicely coiffed this morning. The goatee is rocking it.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And Karen.
Hello. Yeah, my husband used to have a goatee, and then he just let it go, and now he's like biker man with a huge beard. So
Grizzly Bear, Grizzly Adams.
Yeah. So very nice. All right, we are talking season 1, episode 12, By Any Means Necessary. It is I think, a pretty interesting episode. I'm looking forward to hearing you two discuss it. It certainly has very little to do with the overall plot, but as an individual story, I thought it made some different discussions and brought out some different things. And one of the trivia is this was written by, at the time, the wife of J. Michael Straczynski. And he talked about that he is very much against nepotism. And so she had to jump through multiple hoops to get this episode scheduled. And he ended up being very proud of her because of all of that and doing the episode. So
can I say one thing before we get into the episode?
Yeah.
I want to get my trivia in because it has to do with Star Trek: The Next Generation. Okay. And there's always connections to other genre shows because of how early this was. But the two main guest stars in this episode were in two pretty important episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. John Snyder was the main guest star in the Masterpiece Society, and he interacted with, what's her name? The empath. Why can I not think of her name? Anyway,
Troy.
Troy, thank you. Yes. They had a thing going on in that episode, so he was pretty big. And Katie Boyer was one of the Binars in 100101, whatever the title is in that one, 11001001. So, but she was one of the main Binars in that episode. So I thought they were pretty important genre-wise, and I wanted to get that in. So.
Yeah, and we'll get to them because I thought both of them played really good parts for just almost a one and done character chance. So Lou, thoughts on the episode?
Well, it's interesting that now that you mentioned the background of how this episode came to be, because to me, this episode felt really polished. So she must have really tried harder to make sure that her work was quality level that would allow it to be produced, because it all hung together really well. There was no awkward moments. I think this episode highlights the strength of science fiction is that it can handle a broad spectrum of topics. And I mean, this is basically a fist in outer space, or if you wish. So, I mean, it's not a dramatic or a big idea episode, but it's a solid drama episode. I thought all the characters, for the most part, had nuance, and I was overall engrossed in the entire episode.
All right, Karen.
Samesies. Seriously, I really enjoyed this episode. And normally I wouldn't when there's like a B plot that's not related to the A plot. But I thought even though they weren't related, they were both really strong. And like he said, very polished. Just from start to finish, I felt like this episode, even as a standalone, as you've said, it got everything in there. Like there wasn't loose ends. The story was, like I said, just solid and very out of the box, but then still has those genre roots, which I liked. And I'm going to be irritating and give some background on me. The reason we moved to the East Coast is because my father was promoted in the Carpenters Union to treasurer of the entire Carpenters Union, like head office.
Okay.
So unions are a big part of my life. I actually worked there as well. I think my whole family worked for the Carpenters Union at some point. My mother was his secretary when he worked at home. Both of my brothers were cabinet workers. in the union. So having an episode with a union and the struggles that they went through was really, really relevant to me. So, on all different home fronts, it was a solid, really great episode for me.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me is my father-in-law was a chemist at a petrochemical lab where I spent my high school time. And so more on the management side than the union side. And as I've grown up, I've understood more and more the whole management labor dispute. But what felt me is, as a call center guy since like 1990, it always feels like, and certainly not dangerous, but we're always understaffed and get the very last one who gets technology, right? Like everyone else maybe get a shiny new computers or a new program, but even though you could make the argument very carefully, like, hey, here's the return on investment. If you give me this software, I'm going to be able to give our clients a better service. We're going to be able to do more work with the same amount of people. And they're just, I remember once an owner, a senior VP told me, look, Jesse, you can tell me all you want. You need more people. I'm not going to give you more people till our field technicians start complaining to me that they can't get in.
Right.
And that's when I know I'll need, and I'm like, okay, so do I got to call all my friends in the field and go, hey, can you guys start complaining to Mark?
See, it's always that, like the union type workers, they see the big picture.
Yes.
But management sees the very small minutia is, I got to lay out this money right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what the return is down the road. I don't want to give up this money right now.
Yeah.
So, and this was a very big part of this episode.
Mm-hmm. It was. And the other discussion of well, why are you keep giving the military budget? And they said, oh, because it's a strategic safe. Mm-hmm. So very, very, I think, once again on this show, a universal theme, regardless of whether you're pro-labor, anti-labor, whatever, the quote unquote working man and woman and gender neutral often have to, the working people end up having to take it a little harder. Any thoughts, Lou, before we start getting into specifics?
Yeah, just and on a side though, I'm totally shipping Garibaldi and Connolly.
Right.
So,
I agree.
No, I guess it breaks my heart that you said she's a one and done character. So that's too bad. But I totally could see those two hooking up.
They were cute together.
Yeah. They were very cute together.
Yes. As far as unions go, I might as well share my background because I grew up in Oshawa, Ontario, which I don't know if you're familiar with that city. It was a big GM plant city. So, of course, there was a very strong union presence. And my dad had worked at GM, but he actually worked in the office. So he was a non-union, which is interesting. And I got a summer job in the plant. And you really get to understand the union workers' perspective. And so this episode resonated for me on that particular level as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did I answer your question or was there something more?
Yes, you did. Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
All right. So let's get to it. I agree. I thought that the character played by Kathy Boyer, Neona Conley, very strong. She wasn't the, you could sometimes do a stereotypical, union leader that doesn't care about the rest of the world, only cares about her people. I think she was I think she had a lot of political knowledge, understood how the game was played, and was really trying to speak for the people that had, elected her to hire to be that way. I thought a really interesting character that did have great chemistry with Garibaldi, and also I think the commander's respect. So I thought that she was a really, really well-drawn character. And I think that storyline, I think they did a great job of showing, like, you see that because a lot of times we just see Ivanova, talking about, oh, Captain, we've got these problems, but you saw her day to day juggling this. Babylon 5 is a port of call. It is not just a space station out. It is a working place, and having to do traffic control is very hard. Karen, thoughts on that? Just go wherever you want.
Yeah. Number one, how awesome was it that when Connolly was going to speak to the commander and all that, she like ripped off her jacket, like, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and go. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
She had power, but she used it to help her whole team.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed that part of it. Also, I thought it was weird that Ivanova was directing traffic, but from what I see, it was a one-off situation where like there was backup, and so she stepped in to help out. That's not really her day-to-day, but it is under her purview. Like it's something that if necessary, she steps in to help out. Yeah. Which I think is cool. That means that she's like a jack of all trades, that she does whatever is needed. She's a team player. So in this case, we saw two very powerful women on Babylon 5 pitch in and be team players and not just be like, I'm a woman, I deserve more. They were both, in it, like very, not even sympathetic, just really, ready to fight for what they wanted, but it had to do with other people too. Ivanova was also fighting for the dock workers in that, I'm going to help out. I'm going to do what I can. I see that there's a problem. And I thought it was cool. And the fact that she had to kind of oversee that horrible incident in the docking bay, my heart broke for her because she felt like that was part of her responsibility that happened. I saw that, we didn't really see the aftermath of that, but when it happened, she was upset. So yeah, and it had repercussions down the line when Neoma was trying to kind of negotiate early on with Jakar and the rest of the team. Jakar was saying, we need accountability. And she said, okay, if you want accountability, it was your guy. And then he says, well, you can't put the blame on me.
Yeah.
She was all ready to go to bat, Neoma. And I really appreciate not only that there's union stuff, which I relate to, but the fact that two strong women featured heavily in the episode.
Yeah. Lou?
Yeah, I'm going to say Ivanova just to keep things interesting.
Sure. Yes.
I got a chuckle out of her scenes because we've seen from preceding episodes that being diplomatic or delicate is not her strong suit. So she's pretty blunt and straightforward. So for her to have to be polite to people that she was that were being rude to her was quite a chuckle. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought it was a fun. Actually, I thought her scenes were kind of funny because of that. So I enjoyed it from that perspective. For Connolly, I really like, and this is where the episode has some nuance for me, because when she's with Sinclair and the negotiator and that, she's very tough, very unbending, very unyielding. So she that's part of the negotiating tactics. But when she's with her workers, she's actually a little more open, or she's more nuanced with them, and she's got a broader range of these are the things that we should consider. Whereas when she's with the the party she's negotiating with, she's very straightforward and inflexible. So I really liked it from that perspective. So it was a good portrayal of both characters as realistic, fully fleshed characters. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I thought that it showed her, and we don't do this a lot anymore. It feels like in in society as a whole, compromise is considered a dirty word.
Yep.
And it's all about winning and your side winning. And she was truly going between, like pushing the management, the station's commanders, but then going back to her people and going, okay, I'm asking for this, but we may have to settle for that.
Yep.
And working really, really strong. Very, as you mentioned, Lou, very well written character.
Yep.
That she's and you're right, maybe that is because Kathleen knew that she had to have a really polished script to get on. She worked it extra and extra and extra. And I was really cheering for her and her people because you do have the accident, you had someone dying, you had that, and everyone is, oh, it's a tragedy, but and we can't give up too much. So let's flip to our villain, so to speak. John Snyder plays Oren Zento. He
deliciously evil name.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Where he's brought in to be a kind of a troubleshooter, and he, on the other hand, isn't about compromise. He is, look, this is the rules. You're going to take it and you're going to smile. The beatings will continue till morale improves. Right. And so, but I think I think the actor, and is John Snyder, right? I think he played it as, in his mind, that's what I have to do. This is crucial. They signed an agreement and we're going to work through this, and that's my job. So Lou, thoughts on our quote unquote bad guy?
Probably the weakest part of the episode for me. I thought his episode was a little, or his portrayal was a little too one note. And he was just trying a little too hard, or just he was projecting too much during his confrontational scenes. I wish he would have dialed it back just a little bit on those scenes.
Okay.
So he was more just a plot function for me, and not really a well thought out. He was the weakest character in the episode, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I could see that. Karen, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think he played the part that was written for him, and the part was, I'm here
to be a dick.
Right. And he was also Soul Hunter too. In Soul Hunter, I didn't know that. I mean, he had a big prosthetic on for that one, but yeah. And I want to also mention that Senator Hidoshi, I want to lump him in there as well. He was also kind of one note, but he was a little bit more nuanced. I'm surprised that Zento doesn't come back down the road, because it was mentioned by Hidoshi that, he's got friends in high places. You're not going to like what happens. But I think that, and again, you know better than me, but it would be cool to see, something happen with that. Is there going to be some backlash for him on this? I don't know. And I don't know if we see Hidoshi again either. So I just know that we don't see John Snyder again.
Yeah. That's a great point, Karen, about Hidoshi. He was one note too, until that last scene where he talked about, his background with the dock work, or with the union as well. If they had done something similar for Zento to flesh him out a little bit, maybe that would have helped, I think. But we didn't get that. So he just was pretty opaque.
Yeah, because I think would have been nice, right, is, and I guess they're setting this up to show that Sinclair is not in the strongest, position.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to have him
Clash.
by the way, well done, Commander.
Mhm.
You found a way to take care of this that I couldn't have, and I'm glad that we were able to find this compromise, or played it a little bit
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
If he had like been really snarky with him before he left the station and said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I see what's going on here," even just a little,
Yeah.
Side note as to why he is so invested in this, instead of just, "I'm taking orders, I'm going to march with the orders."
Yeah.
That would have been cool. And again, I'm very interested in this Earth government thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to see where that comes in.
Like they kept, or Sinclair kept saying things have changed on Earth, and we were told that Zento is representing a certain faction of the government. It would have been nice if Zento or even the senator had kind of relayed to us exactly what that faction's all about, because it's an unknown to us still. So I would have liked that. And for Sinclair, for me, this was a good episode for him. I actually thought it was one of his better performances, and it reminds me of a lot, even though it doesn't have the humor. But this is basically his Trouble with Tribbles episode, where like in that episode, Kirk was powerless for the whole episode because he had to bow to all these other power groups. Then Sinclair has the same problem here until the very end, when he gets finally to take command of the situation and resolve it. So I really liked Sinclair's arc in this episode quite a bit.
Yeah, and he acted and looked tired.
Yep.
Yeah, and there was one of the notes that he had done a play, and because of the play he had the shadow, and when they came back, JMS and them said, no, don't shave. This looks good for this part. He did look tired. And we're going to get to the B line in a minute. So I did not think about anything when I heard them say the Rush Act. Did you guys think of anything? Because when
Rush Limbo?
Exactly, that is exactly what it was named for.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I wonder what they picked. I mean, I'm not aware of any union interaction he's had, except for he probably has said something bad about them. Because, he's definitely on the side of the 1%ers, or he was, sorry. But yeah, I didn't know why, but learning about it afterwards, I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That they would name it after him.
Oh, okay. I don't know that backstory. My other thought was that they can't be talking about my rock group, Canada's rock group.
The Rush, no.
Yeah. The idea, according to, if you go to Lurker's Guide, the idea is that, and this I think is implied pretty strongly, that if you pull this power, you have it grants you extraordinary power to resolve any kind of strike or union actions which endangers the operation of a military base or military operation, similar to like when the air traffic controllers were striking, early in the Reagan administration, and he ended up firing them.
Right.
And just because it was for the good of the nation. I thought that I love the fact that, because often, our hero does this through brute force, and I think your Trouble with Tribbles is a perfect example of, Commander Sinclair is thinking, okay, I'm going to push them, and then I love that setup. Okay, so the Rush Act means I can do whatever I need to do to solve this, right? And and since it's like, yeah. All
I love that he confirmed it too.
I'm confirmed, right? You've got my back. Whatever I have to do by any means necessary. Yeah, bring on the, release the hounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take 1 million credits away from, and you're like, womp, womp. Like, what? And he kind of and I understand that embarrassed him, but it was a smart move.
Yeah.
And you could see what I love too is the doc immediately workers, the leaders is like, okay, we just wanted to be fair.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
you doc racks, get back to work. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
that ending.
Yeah, it was an elegant solution. I was afraid that they're going to have some sort of phony kumbaya moment, but thankfully they avoid that. I thought, how are they going to solve this? Because it's going to get resolved, and I don't want it to be some sort of cheap out. And it wasn't. It was fairly elegant. So again, which to me indicates this episode had some good polish to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had no idea how it was going to end until Sinclair said, so I can do whatever I want, huh?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, he's gonna be on the side of the union here.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to add, like, in terms of nuance for this episode, I mean, even the so I don't know what he was, but I'll call him the foreman, Eduardo Della Vientos. Sorry if I'm saying that badly. The actor Jose Ray, he had some nuance to him. Like normally in this type of episode, his brother was killed. He would have just been out for revenge.
Yes.
I want my revenge. But you could actually see him, like he was just really worried about the workers and wanted a fair deal. Yeah, he was angry, and understandably so, but he wasn't just a one-note character, and he's just like kind of like a side character in this episode. So those little touches are what makes an episode like this come to life. So these characters have some depth to them, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, the other thing I thought was really well done is according to JMS, in that they had almost a lot of their crew fill in as dock workers behind the scenes, so that they actually could do that too, because there
was a lot of people in that episode.
And Hollywood is very unionized. There is a lot of unions, and I know one of the things that they explain is, I guess, per union rules, when you stop filming, you have to have at least 12 hours before you start filming again. So if let's say you go to 10 o'clock at night, well, you can't start filming until 10 in the morning. Well, if you stop filming at 3 in the morning, you can't start filming till 3 in the afternoon, right? Mm-hmm. So therefore it's a cycle. When you get late, it means later and later and later. Yeah. And so one of the things that Stravinsky was very proud of is that they had a finished script done in plenty of time to give the set and decorators and the costumers time to have everything ready, versus, as much as I love Aaron Sorkin, often he was printing out the final script 2 hours before they were supposed to start filming, and that makes it very expensive.
Yeah, that's some of the reason why movies and stuff are shot out of order, because you can't film again until 10 a.m. but you can start at 8 a.m. if you use different actors, if those actors didn't work till 10 a.m. 10 p.m. the day before. So, and the workers that do the cameras and stuff, they're not bound by that same that same contract. So they do like two hours into the movie or something one day, and then the first scene the next day, because they're different actors. So that's a big deal with the SAG union and stuff. But I thought it was cool that, like, the guy who says, "I say we strike," is their director, the director of the episode. So very cool, I thought.
Any final thoughts before we move to the B story?
No, that's it.
All right. So, if we remember going back where they had a week of religious festivals, right? There was a question like we did not see what the Narn's religion was. And at the time, in an interview, JMS says, well, things are changed and we'll do this. So we determined that it is, there is one of their significant, the Narns and this religion of the Narns, that there is a certain day where everyone kind of quote unquote bows to Mecca and drink, smells this incense, and it is one of their high holy days. And because of the strike, the plant that he needs to do this ceremony, and as the head Narn, the most senior person, it's his responsibility, they don't have it. And guess who does have one?
Londo.
And then hijinks ensure. So Karen, thoughts on our, I think, very entertaining B side episode. I think it unlike others where it didn't necessarily do anything to help, it certainly didn't help build the overall plot, but it also didn't add us anything else. Like Claudia Christian got to be in a set and fly around, right?
Right.
It didn't play the Raiders, but it didn't really help anything with this. I think this truly, not only was it entertaining, but it helped fill out a little more of the personality of both characters. So Karen.
Yeah, for a tiny story, it gave us a lot of story. We learn more about the Narn, which was cool. And I'm assuming that in the lore of the show, that they only celebrate on this one day because of the sun coming over the mountain. And so that's why they didn't do anything in that other episode.
Yes.
And you get to see a bit more of that friction between Jakar and Londo, which again is awesome. Because you can see that Londo is just delighted that he can do this. And I think there's a lot of reasons why he had the I'm looking. Jaquan F plant.
Yeah.
There were many reasons why he had it. For one thing, the seeds are a drug of some kind.
Right.
So
whiskey.
He was enjoying that. Yeah, like whiskey. And also he knew that Jakar might need it someday, and so he could flaunt that he had one and Jakar didn't. So I think there's a lot of good stuff there, especially with Londo. We could really see the delight he took in subverting this ceremony. And how much did you know that he wasn't going to give the plant over even when Jakar came up with the money? I mean, of course he wasn't. He was going to escalate at every turn just to, let's make him try and come up with these 10,000 credits, and then I really thought it was a great view into their frenemy relationship. I mean, I don't want to say enemies, because it's not like they seem to be like at odds everywhere you turn. I just think that, while the Narn hate the Minbari, is it Minbari? Is that
the
Londo?
Centauri?
The Centauri, sorry.
Yeah.
They as a race hate the Centauri. I think there's a grudging respect sometimes between Jakar and Londo. But in this episode, we saw Jakar just being completely frustrated by Londo's actions. And you could see that when Londo got in the little elevator and Jakar gets told, well, he's got it. And he's like, it was playful, yet you could see why they were at odds with each other. And it was, again, like the main storyline, nuanced. There were a lot of different elements that went into that for a tiny little story. So I really enjoyed both storylines in this episode.
Good. Lou?
Yeah, totally agree with what Karen just said. It's the net effect, and I hope down the line that maybe they'll subvert our expectations. But the net effect right now is that Jakar is coming off as a real pompous ass. And I mean, right now I'm enjoying it as much as Londo was, to take him down a peg or two. But that also kind of sets him up as a one-note character, and I hope that there's going to be some more nuance to Jakar as the series goes along, because if he's stuck in that role for the rest of the series, that's going to get kind of boring. So I hope that that will be expanded. But within this episode, this was a great B storyline, because it was a nice release of tension from the A storyline. And it just was, as you said, Jesse, it was just really good to flesh out these characters and get to see their dynamics. Londo really doesn't like Jakar, or he loves needling the hell out of the guy.
Yes,
so,
I think that's well said.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it, and I think both actors were having a lot of fun with their parts. So it was you just knew that from a monetary or perspective or whatever, Londo didn't really care. He was just pushing, like when he named 50,000 credits, which I assume is an outrageous sum for these things, these seeds. He was just doing it to poke Jakar. So it was their scenes were really good, and it was funny how they kind of tied into the A storyline when everybody showed up on the command center at the same time, and they were all yelling, and you could just tell that Sinclair was just just about to lose it. So it was a nice release for him as well. So it was well played and nicely again integrated into the episode. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I am not proud, but when I was younger, much younger, my sister and I are 5 years apart. And I remember we'd be at the washing dishes, and so I'd be washing and she'd be drying, and so like my right leg would be blocking a cabinet she needs to get into, and so she would say, "Can you move your leg?" And so I would move my left leg, right, and just because I was,
of course.
I was 11 and she was 6, right? And so I get that same feeling, like, Londo is like, "Oh, you mean this plant?" And then I really, I think the episode where we find out that why there's a hole in Sinclair's head was certainly a good episode for the actor, but I think in a lot of ways this was Michael O'Hare's one of his best performances. I thought he was really well, and then at the end he's got the doc thing done, and now I've got this stupid, in his mind, disagreements that just give him the plant, it's not going to hurt you, and let them, and so I like how he pulled strings, and then Londo's like, "Okay, if you have to."
Well,
and then
he pulled a loophole with them too, and he said, "It's a controlled substance,
right?
So
yes,
you can keep it."
Right.
He let both parties save face.
Right.
Yes, he did. And then and I love Jakar is like, it doesn't matter. That's why he gave in. We've missed the cycle for this. And then Sinclair to say, "Well, let's think for a minute. When the sun comes and when it's done," and Jakar face lights up like, "Yes, that would work." And then he says, "You are more spiritual than you think." In Sinclair, there's a couple of Jesuit instructors, priests, that may disagree. So I think we had talked before that Sinclair went to a Jesuit, like college or high school. So he read that. I just thought that was wonderful that he once again using the rules to countermount and make this work. And oh my goodness, he looks so tired when he goes into his quarters. Like, give me at least 8 hours where no one is bothering me. I just need to, collapse. And he played that really well. So, any thoughts on his solution?
Well, like I said, he let both parties save face, so I thought it was well done. Again, elegant. And your point of the sibling rivalry between Londo and Jakar is well taken. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. The whole frenemies thing, it's definitely more a sibling rivalry. I love that you use that analogy for it.
Yep.
I feel like there's something that like they have respect or they care about each other in some way, but it's super deep down. I really appreciate that kind of depth to both characters. And I get that Jakar is kind of one note now. I do see that. But I'm hoping, since he's with the whole series, right? He goes all the way through. I'm assuming we see more nuance to his character.
And I don't want to spoil anything, but yes, I think as they said, no one is what they seem to be on Babylon 5. So
right. Cool. And that, that's where the A story and the B story kind of come together in that Sinclair, while he's tired, he's still going to use his intellect to resolve the problem. So, and boy, was he just looked beat.
He did.
Through the episode, you could see he's getting more and more and more and more ready to retire for the evening.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And I also enjoyed when he was in his quarters and he was tired, he still was looking up on his computer ways to allocate the budget when he could really kind of be taking a nap. But, you could see on the screen, he was looking at, here's this budget, here's this budget, and it just showed his dedication to Babylon 5 in this episode.
Yeah. One of you mentioned, I did think the almost for comedy where we had, we had Londo, we had Jakar, we had the reporter. They're all in CNC. They're all asking him and Sinclair, get the hell out of here, all of you now. Lieutenant Commander Ivanova, in 10 seconds, you will escort any authorized person still present to the brig and leave them there.
10.
And then Susan immediately like, oh, yes. I just love that. And then Garibaldi coming in. So what I miss? Just really, really well done.
Yep.
And that reporter, I got to mention that reporter. Oh man, do I not like her?
Yeah, exactly.
Number one, her perm is terrible.
Okay.
It really is.
Ivanova's
hair was amazing in this episode again. I've worn my hair like that actually, where you okay, you gather your hair when it's in a ponytail and then you put the ponytail up through the hole. I don't know if anyone understands. And that makes the rolls on the side. I liked it. It was very cool. But I also enjoyed her 10, 9, and they all just scurried backwards out of the thing.
Because it was a nice release for her too, because she was frustrated the whole episode.
That was cool. But that reporter, man.
Yeah.
We've seen her before, right?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I also love that the Jaquan ceremony was very beautiful. The gift of time, the gift of life, the gift of wisdom, the gift of life. For those things we are thankful, for those things we pray. Very, very Catholic Mass type. Speaking of like with our just recent discussion with Midnight Mass, them repeating it was very, very. It was filmed beautiful, very just a really nice thing to see. And then I love that, Conley talked about, she said, there are no happy ever afters, just new battles. And I think that can be sometimes frustrating for us because we didn't get a win, maybe, but there's always another challenge. And my boss talks about this. He quotes the the Keanu Reeves and with the speed, like where Keanu Reeves' character says, she asks, what do we do if we win? We get to do this again tomorrow. And that's often, my boss said, that's what we get. If we do it right, our gift is we get to do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
So yeah, that's great.
You mean Keanu Reeves doesn't say, whoa.
Exactly.
It's not a thing he said in every movie back
right.
then. He says it in the Shakespeare movie he was in too, which made me laugh.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Again, because the cast is so big, and at this, like, we're halfway through the season, I really feel that the Minbari are underrepresented in the number of episodes, and possibly because they've got the whole thing going on with Sinclair and the hole in his mind, so that they're holding that back. But I really would like to see more of them in these episodes, and I assume that's going to happen in the back half of this season.
Yeah, I think so, and I agree with you. It is once again, that's the beauty of having that big of a cast, right? And what was nice is they didn't just throw in like, oh, we've got to give Delenn an episode, a line. They just said, no, it's not needed. So that was well done. Good. All right. Ratings. Karen.
I give it 9 seeds.
Okay. Good. Lou?
I'm going to go a bit lower because while I thought the episode was well done, in the terms of the mythology of the series, it's not really adding anything. It's just a character episode. So I'm going to probably give it, I'll probably give it 8 Rushacks.
Okay. Very good. Well, I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to give it 8.5. Guns, be sure where it's being pointed to. Because I thought that was a great line. Really good. Really well done. And I feel like, as someone who's rewatched this series multiple times, I'm like, okay, I think the series is starting to find its voice and pick things up as it's going through this first season. All right. Hey, Karen, didn't we get some feedback?
We did, from Alexander, which I love. He gave us feedback for both Survivors and this episode.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to read some excerpts here. First of all, he says, with the 4th of July coming up, the most important question is, what are your favorite festive patriotic foods?
Oh, good question.
So he wants to know what us Americans like for the 4th of July. I'm going to say hamburger is my absolute fave. Grilled on the grill outside with a picnic going on. That's my favorite, with maybe some potato salad. That's just yummy.
So Lou, as our Canadian, you may not be celebrating the 4th of July, but you do
how about
summer.
Canada Day?
Yeah, Canada Day.
Because we just had that too.
Yes, on July 1st. That's
Okay.
Canada's birthday, formed in 1867. So it's the same thing, basically, barbecue, hamburgers and whatnot. So it's just we have it on a different day. And then plus a lot of us just celebrate July 4th because your influence is so strong. And so we get like a double celebration.
Oh, that sounds nice. I should start celebrating Canadian Day.
I celebrated Canada Day because we have a couple of people on our team from Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I had some potato chips in their honor this year.
Nice.
Nice.
Some poutine.
Yeah.
I wish we can't get poutine here. I ate
really?
some ketchup flavored potato chips, because apparently that's a big thing up there, ketchup flavored potato chips.
Nice.
So I had those.
So when as we had talked about before we hit record, I had a few people over to the house to celebrate Independence Day, and then other stuff happened. But one of the things that I always do is I take fresh corn, put a little olive oil and seasoning on it, and then put it on the grill. And so I love fresh corn on the grill. And then there is a local, I guess it's nationwide, but Earl Campbell, who was a Houston Oiler, a amazing NFL running back from Tyler, Texas, has a version of hot links that are really good. And so I love burgers. I love any kind of food on the grill, but I really love Earl Campbell hot links with a nice barbecue sauce on a bun, and grilled corn. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for asking, Alexander.
Yeah, agreed. I dig when people from other countries ask about American stuff. Like in Europe, they had no idea there was actually a thing, red Solo cups.
Yes.
That's funny. That blew my mind. So yeah, I dig when people ask about that. Okay, so he says about survivors, on much of your criticism towards, that's last week's conversation, or the week before, so. On much of your criticism towards this episode, I agree, but the more interesting part is always to learn what good people find in scenes and stories they don't generally find amazing. It was great to hear you talk through the potential this story may have had, and your appreciation for some of the smaller details like starship designs and general effects shots. I do have to say, though, I've got a massive soft spot for Babylon 5's largest local mantis dealer, Nagrath. It's silly puppetry, but the silliness is right up my alley. And just the fact that we get some established character of the station's dirty underbelly makes me happy. I always liked how familiar Garibaldi is with him in this episode, showing his chops as the security chief, keeping tabs on who's who in the criminal underground. We need more silly insects in our science fiction. And I'm adding to this that if you want a silly insect, then you got to go watch the episode where Aaron turns into an insect on Farscape, because that was amazing. I mean, if we're comparing effects, then the mantis is nothing compared to her when she goes through her transformation.
I remember that. Well done.
Yeah.
All right. Holly Mack sent us one that I had forgotten to forward to everyone. So hello all. A very interesting episode. I trust Zento about as far as I could throw him. The Quernon storyline was interesting. Poor Sinclair trying to hammer out the deal between Londo and Jakar, Zento and Conley. Loved how Sinclair turned the Rush Act against them. Sheer brilliance. Sinclair was lucky that it turned out the way it did. Senator Hidoshi was right. He is one heck of a poker player with that play. And sheer brilliance as well, with Sinclair calculating the light for the Jakan ceremony. Crap, now we have Zento to keep an eye on the radar along with the home garden. Well, I will keep my seatbelt buckled up for the upcoming adventures. I'll wrap it up here, Holly from Wisconsin. So thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really wanted to see more of the repercussions from Zento as well. I'm assuming there's something down the line, but we don't see Zento again. So
yeah. You can send us email at jklb5podcast@gmail.com. So next week we are talking signs and portents, which is a fairly significant episode. So we will see what happens. I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all's thoughts.
Yeah.
Lou, if Karen, if someone wants to reach you, how can they?
I'm at I'm at Elevaria most everywhere. If you go to Twitter, there's a link in my bio to my website, which gives you links to everything else. So find me there, please.
All right. And Lou, do you have any compacts? First off, tell everyone where they can find you and the show on YouTube. And do we have any comments from our YouTube viewers?
For the YouTube, they generally were not, they said that we were much kinder to this episode than they were. So that pretty well sums up all the comments.
Okay.
As for myself, you can find me on YouTube at Lou's Reviews, on Twitter at Lou W. Sitzma or at Stephen King Podcast. And I think that's it.
Okay. Well, you can find me at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. You can hear me talk Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere, Springsteen on Set Leslie Bruce, and let us hear from you. We love hearing your feedback and your thoughts. I cannot wait next week to discuss this next one. This was a fun episode, and as always, I love talking to both of you. For now, go be kind to each other. Let's really try to find the right ways to work through this. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, listeners. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. And scene.